Once again, if you're looking for a high performance blender, you will have found several different competitors out there, but there's a great chance your final decision is coming down between the Total Blender and the 5200. They are considered the two best on the market today. And hopefully you've picked up a tidbit here or there over the course of this video series that may be steering you towards one over the other. That's the whole point of the series. Today we'll be doing one more test. We'll be making some flour in these machines. If you did not already know, these machines are powerful enough to take your whole grains and turn them into flour. So for instance, if you wanted to make your own bread doughs, you could take some brown rice or some regular rice or some cracked winter wheat, put them in these machines and turn them into flour, so you'll know exactly what's going in those bread dough recipes. Today we'll be doing brown rice flour. Now in the Blendtec, the jar that comes with it, the same jar that you're using to make your smoothies and your soups and your ice creams, you'll be using that same jar to make your flours as well. One jar does everything. It has a rather blunt blade, and the design of that blade is such that you can do everything in one machine. Now the jar that comes with the Vitamix 5200, you can do some dry grinding in that jar. If you wanted to do your lighter loads, say for instance you wanted to turn regular sugar into powdered sugar, or maybe grind some raw oats into oat flour, the jar that comes with the 5200 is perfectly acceptable to do that. However, for your harder grains like your rice, your winter wheat, especially your corn, you're going to want to purchase a separate jar. It looks just like this. It's around $100 extra, so you will be paying a little more to do this particular function in the machine. But it's got a different jar design and a different blade design, and it works really well for these grains. So that's the one we're going to be using for this test. All we're going to be doing is putting some dry brown rice, about a cup, into each. Now what we're going to be doing in this test is running both machines for the exact same length of time on the exact same speeds. With the Blendtec, that's going to be speed 10, and I'm going to get there by simply holding down my speed up button until I get to speed 10. With the Vitamix, it's always manually operated. I'm going to use the high speed to do the grinding. Now how long we run this test is completely up to us. Depending on how fine or coarse you want your flour, that will depend on how long you let it run. Obviously the longer it runs, the finer the flour will get. This is a completely arbitrary test. We could run 15 seconds or a 3-minute test, it doesn't matter. The Blendtec, however, when you use the manual speeds, will shut itself off after 50 seconds, so we'll just use that as our arbitrary time for this particular test. So once again, I'm going to run the Blendtec on speed 10 for 50 seconds. When it stops and shuts itself off, we'll run the Vitamix for 50 seconds, and then we will compare the two flours to see exactly how both machines worked. Here's the Blendtec. We'll go to speed 10. Now the Vitamix will put the same amount, 1 cup of brown rice into it. We'll go to speed 10 for 50 seconds. Bear with me 1 second while I start my timer. now one thing I want to show you before we compare the flours. I've been meaning to do this on several videos. A lot of people may be wondering, what does doing this kind of work do to the blenders? Let me show you something. Now you won't get this advantage with the Vitamix, but on the Blendtec, it has a counter. That number right there represents the number of times that I've used this machine. I've used this machine almost 19,200 times. Now, I haven't done the math on that, but if you divide 19,172 by 365 days a year, you're going to come up with a number that's over 50, which means if you use these machines every single day for the next 50 years, you still won't have as many uses on your machine as I do on this one. My point being, these machines are designed to last. Now, let's compare the two flours. That was the point of this demonstration. We'll put some flour on the Blendtec on one side of this plate, and with the Vitamix on the other. As you can see, that flour is fine enough to bake with. Now just feeling the textures of these, they are almost identical. The Vitamix texture may be ever so slightly finer, which would make some sense because that blade in that jar is designed just for this function. But they're both phenomenal machines. They're both going to give you exactly the texture you need depending on the recipe you want to make. You can turn corn into cornmeal, rice into rice flour, oats into oat flour, take your table sugar, make your powdered sugar. A lot of great uses for dry grinding in these machines. I hope you enjoyed the series. By all means, if you have any questions about anything you've seen over the course of these 5 videos, don't hesitate to send me an email, bd@blenderdude.com, or just visit the website, blenderdude.com, and ask questions straight on the website. Until the next video, have a great day and happy blending.